pandemic like this, how do you think the information is that's attained from different sources?
Definitely, there are restrictions and constraints, but what we need to understand is if you can see this an opportunity to go inwards.
Traditionally, it used to happen organically, but in today's generation, it's more or less like planning.
In the same way, when you're talking about pregnancy, anything which you prepare, there is an involvement of everybody and you yourself.
So the child is ready to observe and learn. So, in what way do you think we need to introduce?
It is a process where parents participate and it organically happens.
ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ಪ್ರಜಾವಾಹಿನಿಗೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ. ನಾನು ಅರ್ಚನಾ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ. ಇವತ್ತಿನ ಲೈಫ್ ಸ್ಟೈಲ್ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮದಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ಯಾರೆಂಟಿಂಗ್ ಅನ್ನೋ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತನಾಡಲು ನಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಸೃಜನಾ ಶೇಖರ್ ಅವರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಸೃಜನಾ ಶೇಖರ್ is a parenting coach and also a child counselor. She is also certified in prenatal yoga and also infant Montessori. She has been Rishi Prabhakar Guruji's SSY student, coming with an experience over 19 plus years in self-management and specializing in making parenting a joyous process. Today she is with us to speak about the art of parenting. Namaskara Srujana avare, nama ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಸ್ವಾಗತ.
Namaskara. It's a great pleasure to be here at Prajavahini. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So how do you define pregnancy?
Pregnancy is a beautiful process and of course the first stage of existence, birth, growth, maturity, decay, death. So the first process is the first stage, it's very important. And I see it as a union of energies. And also lot of things are involved in that, say it our five elements, our senses, everything which actually helps in the process of pregnancy. So I see it as the first stage and a very important stage, which is to do with the union of two energies along with of course the medical terms and the physiology and everything.
Traditionally it used to happen organically, but in today's generation it's more or less like planning. So what do you have to say? Do you think planning is required, or to what extent is it important?
See, now because there's a festive season, obviously. So if you see, when we have a festivals, what do? We prepare a lot. There is a lot of preparation that goes. And when there is a preparation in festivals, it's really exciting and you're involved in it, right? Whether it is be it decorations, be it food, be it anything, the new clothes. So everybody in the family is excited about it. In the same way, when you're talking about pregnancy, anything which you prepare, there is an involvement of everybody and you yourself. So that preparation is what I don't want people to miss. Coming to the important things other than that is, see, when you're preparing, you're aware of your physicality, you're aware of the medical needs, you're aware of the nutrition, you're aware, and any kind of a genetic or any kind of toxins you could in hand clean and prepare your body and mind. Sometimes it is a sudden shock, emotionally it's really shocking for how to deal pregnant. Suddenly one fine morning you wake up and you come to know, oh, I'm pregnant. So that's when you don't know, oh, what to do now, what next. So there the emotion, as on hormones are changing, right? So that's why planning for pregnancy really helps in taking care of your physical need, your mental needs, your emotional needs, and also it helps in actually involving the entire family into it, because everything around supports you. And I tell you that it's my understanding, pregnancy doesn't just start in the body, but it starts in your mind much before. The moment the thought occurs, okay, we want to plan a child, so that's when you're actually pregnant in your mind, and then that actually is seen in your body later when you're actually planning it and inviting this baby.
Lovely, that's a beautiful explanation. But you get a lot of information. The oldies are there to share their experiences, your peers are there to give a lot of information. So it's a confused state to be in sometimes.
Yes.
So how do one process it and take the information that's apt and required for them in the process?
In a way, it's actually a plus point, I must say, because to have your family, you have your friends, you feel assured, so you have a lot of things, but you should know what to take in, what to talk. So we generally recommend in our workshops to avoid hearing to anybody's delivery or feeding process experiences. Make yours unique and understand how you can make your process or journey unique. So, having grandparents and parents at home giving their own traditional insights is really helpful, because each comes from different tradition, whether it is food, culture, and everything. So, to have inputs from them is really helpful. At the same time, you should be knowing what to take in, what to discuss. So, that's when you go through a process organically and understand, okay, this is the information that's going to help me grow or come over this phase beautifully, and this is what I want to discuss, and this is where I'm aware of. So just be aware of the facts, don't get into the panic mode, taking too much of, and especially now everything people search on Google. You know, Google has become the mother of all. So what happens the moment you want to know something, you start searching for that.
So currently in a situation like this, in a pandemic like this, how do you think the information is that's attained from different sources can make one emotionally be in a stable or a comfortable space? How much to let in? Even though the information is available, how much to let in into your space to be comfortable?
See, in current situation, definitely there are restrictions and constraints, but what we need to understand is, if you can see this an opportunity to go inwards. And most importantly, we had this concept of we can only have fun or we can only be engaged when we are out, when we are stepping out. But there is also a beautiful process that happens within also. So this is a time I see that you could have a time for introspect, a time to spend on self-regulatory exercises, activities. So especially during pregnancy, definitely it helps you to have to be doing yoga, meditation, or look into write a journal. Keep yourself occupied, because see what happens is there are a lot of neural connections that are happening in the baby, right? So it's a baby's brain. So when these neural connections are happening, to provide that kind of an environment which is healthy, safe, and creative really helps the connections. So that's where we suggest that yes, this is the time you spend for yourself. So take rest, regenerate, spend learning something new, invest your time in arts, invest your time in reading, invest your time in relaxing. So that's what is needed during pregnancy, right? So it can be a blessing in disguise during this pandemic time. And to be away from people around is basically we need to understand what is social distancing and what is physical distancing. So we talk about physical distancing, not social distancing. So physically you're 6 feet away, but then socially you can still connect to people around. So you can do online workshops, you can visit a place online, you can also do a lot of online research, you can read, you can call, video call. So you are connected to the world, and that's the mindset you need to bring in. And when we are into this mindset, yes, I am safe, everything is wonderful, so that helps this current situation and challenge to overcome.
There are a lot of fertility and conception issues in these current generations. So what do you have to speak about the challenges the young couples are going through in conceiving?
Yes, definitely there are a lot of issues going on, and that's majorly because of the stressful lifestyle. And that's where we suggest them to plan. I come across many couples who have faced, because they don't know what's going genetically inside. On top of that, there is a lot of stress, work stress they add. So good sleep, nutrition, and well planned pregnancy helps them deal all these challenges. And that's when the basic understanding or the basic conception process. So it is basically very important to understand the process of conception, because the mindset, the emotions, if any couple who's in trauma during conception, it affects the birthing process. So that's the reason we suggest them actually be planned with your lifestyle, and you should be very thankful to the child, because they bring in discipline even before they're born. Because that's when you actually start thinking that you need to sleep in time, you should have nutrition food, you need to take care of your breathing exercises, you start enrolling to some kind of an exercise, and you start watching out what you're doing, what you're thinking. Isn't it a beautiful journey? Because child is already part of you before even coming into this world. So that's how I see that you need to enjoy the process of pregnancy. And especially I suggest the current generation should definitely look into, take this a very serious as a serious note, that they plan well in hand and do not play with their health, because what happens is when they have a miscarriage, I have a lot of couples who come, there is a trauma, right? There is a physical trauma, there is an emotional trauma, and the entire family is also hurt. So I suggest do not go into such experiences, rather plan. So we suggest a lot of positive affirmations, we suggest a lot of exercises, breathing techniques, the nutrition part. So that's how you prepare your body and mind and emotions. So that really helps.
That's lovely. And once conceiving definitely is a tougher part, and once they conceive, people think taking rest, not everybody but most of them, rest is the only way. And after like 5 months or so, they would prefer to not work much. So how do you say, you being a prenatal yoga therapist, so how would you suggest them to take yoga or whatever part of exercise that can be possible into a very conventional mode where they are comfortable with it, yet enjoy it and practice it regularly?
Yes. See, basically, pregnancy, you need to understand, is not a disease that you need to take bed rest until and unless you are being suggested medically. But otherwise, know that pregnancy is a process that you enjoy. There are some ifs and buts that you need to be careful about, that you don't lift weights, and you need to be careful about that, the food that you take in. But otherwise, need to be active, and what kind of baby do you want? First thing, that's the first question. See, when people come to me, I ask them, first tell me, why do you want a child? That's my first question. So do you have a vision? Why do you want a child? So we give them a vision, because many of them are not aware why they want. Sometimes they just come up with this old age security, or sometimes because family is asking, or society's pressure. So is that why you want a child? Or so we give them a vision. Why not think something higher? You want to bring up a being in this world so that the being can contribute into this world. So how about that? So I'm not saying it's wrong that a family wants and you want a child. So we give them a vision, and then from there, when we talk about the being active, what kind of a child that's when they think about, okay, what are the qualities you want in the child, how active you want the child to be. So should you be, right? Both of you need to be very active physically, mentally and emotional if you want the same kind of a child, right? Genetically we can take care of it, and also all these things, majorly environment plays a role, and that is where we suggest them that yes, definitely you stay active, the baby is going to jump around.
Lovely. That's a beautiful way to have a healthy baby in a healthy surroundings.
Yes. So as you were talking about the yoga and practices, yes, definitely there are a lot of pregnancy to keep physically and mentally active. There are a lot of activities. When we're talking about physical activities, yoga helps, breathing helps, a gentle walk helps. We have people who go ahead with swimming as well. So there are physical activities which you can gently, carefully be doing it with all the precautions which are given by the trainers during your pregnancy. Also, there are a lot of mental exercises and emotional exercises. Like for example, mental exercises, be engaged in an activity, because there are a lot of neural connections that is happening, and babies' intelligences are forming. So when you're talking about intelligences, we cover up all the 8 intelligences. So that is about natural or linguistic, mathematical, intrapersonal, interpersonal, all these are very important, spatial. So when we're talking about the intelligences, what happens is that's the environment you need to create during pregnancy. So those are the mental activities you need to plan and be engaged in. At the same time, emotions, like for example, just one activity I would like to share is like write a journal, acknowledge your emotions on a daily basis by the end of the day, because you don't accumulate them. When you accumulate your emotions, it bursts. So that affects you as a mom and also the child. And when we are talking about the environment, it's not only the mother and who has to take care of this, but the entire family, the spouse, father and the family. Create an environment, happy, peaceful and nurturing environment, wherein it's supposed the mother to be in balance and give the same to the child. So that's how we create the environment.
So you're actually teaching the child even before the child was born by being in a right way, so that the child also understands.
Yes. So teaching does, see, there's a connection, it's more than teaching. I call it as connection. So parents connect to the baby in the womb itself, because baby is very smart right from the womb. They can observe, they can understand emotions, they can taste different tastes. So they are already very intelligent in the womb itself, and what we need to do is just connect to the baby. And when you connect to the baby right from the womb, while you're eating food, talk to the baby. While you're singing, just sing for the baby. Talk to the baby about your daily chores. Just connect in one or the other form with the baby. Helps you to build this connection right from the womb. That's just not because it's enjoyable or it's really great, but also scientifically, babies every month, the body parts are forming, as well as brain is developing, and they can hear, they can smell, they can know, they can feel everything, and that's where you connect. See, the first connection baby has is through parents, and then to the world. Now who has to introduce the world? Parents. But before that, you need to connect to the baby, right? So you connect to the baby, you introduce the world, so the baby sees the world through you, and that connection you need to build. So more than teaching, I would call it as connection.
This is so lovely. So is this what you try and do in your ISP programs?
Yes. So basically, we talk about all the challenges parents are meeting, and this program starts right from planning stage, and then comes to the pregnancy, and then from day 1 to the 8 years. So we talk about the complete process of birth, and we talk about the different activities and overall development of the child, be it physical development or mental development, social, emotional and spiritual development. Because if you see, these are the areas where each parent faces a challenge. So what does that mean? That means these areas are very important to understand. So we understand each of the area, and then we plan activities accordingly, and that's where they start right from planning. So they are aware, and then during pregnancy, how to connect to the baby through various activities, and how to keep emotionally stable, how to be physically active, and then from day 1, how do you provide an environment to the child the first 8 years, because 80% of the brain development happens below 8 years. That means when the brain growth is fast, that's when your absorption is very good. So that's when you need to provide all the activities and connect. As I was saying, the child connects to the world through different areas, right? From pregnancy, from the womb to outside. And how do we connect it? So we give them a scientific and systematic approach to connect to each and every aspect, and then that's how the entire program is designed.
I've seen in some of your programs that a 20-day child is crawling. So how is it possible? How can that be possible?
Yeah, actually from day 1.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is very natural. If you see any creature on earth, okay, when do they move? They move right from birth. You see a cow, they just move, they just walk, right? And humans also are capable of movement right from day 1. So when there is a movement, that is a mobility. There is a mobility in the body, and when there is a mobility in the body, what happens is the backbone is active, the brain gets stimulated, and all the human abilities start forming in right time. Human abilities are walking, talking, reading, all these are abilities, hearing, listening, seeing. So these are the abilities that start forming in time. Now it starts from day 1 itself. So this is called, technically, medically, it is called breast crawling. So when they're born, before even cutting the umbilical cord, they actually put the baby on the thigh, and they're crawling towards the breast and taking their first feed. So that is medically done in many of the gynec and hospitals, and we are not aware. So babies are capable of being mobile from day 1 onwards. So that's a beautiful. We feel it surprising because we heard for the first time probably, but otherwise it's very natural.
As you said, the child is very smart, but I'm sure the parents are not equipped enough to understand that. So how do you equip the couple, the parents, to go through this process smoothly?
Yes, so we do train them up with different tools, and understanding scientific facts, and also experiences. So a lot of our experiences that come as a parent and as a trainer do help to give an assurance to them. And also because this programs run by facts, scientific facts, and also beyond that, which is a connection, you know. So that's how they feel assured with different kinds of tools that they are being introduced to, be it for example, you know, when we're talking about a good handwriting. So as I was talking about crawling, you know, so a good handwriting needs a good convergence of vision. It needs a good grip for any manual activities. So this basic understanding is very important for parents, because most of the parents just scold children when they're not writing it properly, or they don't write in between lines. But it needs just a biological maturity to be able to, if I'm saying something and you're able to understand and write within lines, that means you have the biological maturity. Now if you're repeatedly telling the child and the child is not able to do, that means you need to work on the grip. That means you need to work on the convergence of the vision. So we give them this understanding that instead of going on hampering the child further, please introduce these activities, these manual activities, wherein the child's grip gets stronger, and that's when they have the maturity in the body, and then they're able to do anything very well with the manual activities. So these are the tools that we provide with
So
a
it's
basic
not after 1
understanding.
year, but it's from day one.
Exactly.
Okay, it's day one the child starts learning.
The child is already started learning through the connection they build from the parents, and the child starts learning from day one, which you are able to see, feel and experience it. So to be able to participate in that is something very wonderful. So when you're participating, why not sing a rhyme? Yeah, why not read a book? Why not engage the child? Why not engage the child in a conversation? Why not talk to the child about the beautiful things around?
See, they are not aware that the child is aware. We must think like, oh, the child is recognizing, the child is smiling. The maximum we can think is, okay, the child is giving a smile.
Yeah.
Like, it's a totally different thing to understand that the child understands every single thing.
Yes. See, basically, see, this is all to do with the brain. We understand how brain functions. See, if you're not giving an information, like for example, if you don't give an information that this is television, or this is this fan, or this is refrigerator, the child wouldn't further think about how to use it. You know, that is the next step. But the basic information you need to give is, okay, this is called this. So these are the facts that we introduce to the child, wherein the right brain is taking all the information. If you have basic information about a computer, about anything around, that's where the logic starts building on. Without any basic information, logic doesn't work. You need basic information. So initially the first few years, they collect, it's a collection of information. Now when you are having collection of information, your logic, you analyze, you think and you come to a conclusion. So that is again the higher thinking skills. If you see even Bloom's taxonomy, what it says is higher thinking skills is something to do, starts with information, then it goes to analyze, think, come to conclusion. So this is what happens in the process, whether you are doing something or not. It's just that you have an opportunity as a parent. Why not enjoy the process?
So the child is ready to observe and learn. So in what way do you think we need to introduce phase by phase? Like keep it for a 1 year child, or a 2 years, or a 4 year child. How does that shift happen? How do you teach the child?
So I do not call it as a teaching process. It is a process where parents participate and it organically happens. The learning is something that from day one, as an infant, as a toddler, depending on their age appropriate activities, their reflections, that's where the activities are planned, and that's how they actually connect. So it is more or less we are just providing an environment, and we are just enjoying the process, participating in it, and rather than trying to teach something.
So show them some pictures, flashcards, or whatever can work with them.
Yes, see, they have a very good visual memory, you know. So memory works in different ways, and so that's how we plan activities during infants and toddlers, wherein they use a lot of sensory activities where they stimulate all their senses. See, learning happens through all 5 senses. So to be keeping them active is very important for them to come to a conclusion, to understand. So that's how we give them like a very small activities, like, you know, they're taking smell of, they're introducing different kinds of smells, they're trying to give the touch, you know, so of different textures. So these actually keep the 5 senses stimulated, and that's how the sensory brain, you know, mind is actually active. And they're very, very simple activities which can be done at home.
As you said, children are always ready to observe and learn, and their energies are always all time high. How can we entertain them and also be a part of their growth without being drained? Because that's the biggest challenge parents face.
Yeah, so this is something like you want the ball always in your court. You want to entertain, but you don't want to get tired, so not drenched. So, see, basically, in this pandemic time, I think there are three important things that you need to be, assuring about. So that is one is the first one is I feel reassure the child, and reassuring the child about the safety of you and the child and the family. So in the process of reassuring, you can explain about the current COVID situation, and what are the things that you need to be doing for the safety, and if we need a little help, we might reach the hospital, is what the child needs to know at any stage. So you reassure the safety by saying, oh, by doing washing hands you are safe. When you're reassuring that word again and again, that you're safe, a little help needed, we have doctors, we have hospitals, that itself makes the entire environment and the child's fear and anxiety settle down, because now they have a piece of information. Along with that, the child is assured about the safety. Now the second thing is a routine. Keep up a routine, whether it is your if you have been doing bedtime stories, keep up to the routine, the food, sleeping, waking up, a little indoor play. So keep a routine where the child feels there's not major change, but definitely there is a routine that they can connect to. Now the third one is the self-regulatory activities. So you need to indulge the child. This is an opportunity when child learns to have indulging in some or learning some self-regulatory activities, be it yoga, be it breathing, be it art, anything that keeps the child engaged. So you need to introduce these things, okay, explain them that it's just not the outdoor.
What age do you think we can introduce it to the child?
Yeah, self-regulatory activities again are age appropriate, right? So to keep an infant being engaged, mother definitely needs the energy. So mother need to think about the self-regulatory activities, take a break and be calmer, spend time for yourself, and then probably that affects the infant as well. And we were talking about a lot of infant activities. Coming to toddlers definitely love to have a lot of self-regulatory activities. They love to involve in paints, they love to involve in reading books, they love to involve in doing breathing exercise. So these are all something that you can do. There is a possibility to keep engaged. So to begin with, if you take a day, how do you plan a day? When you start a day, probably you can start thinking about giving information about the current situation. Also explain them that we are not with the social distancing, we are with the physical distancing, the difference between social and physical distance. So a 6 feet distance, but still you can connect to your friends, so that makes them feel, oh, I'm still connected, so I'm still social person. Write a letter to your grandparents or friends, or have a online video call. So all these things, what are the different ways of connecting socially by having a social physical distancing is very important. So at the same time, you can have a little structure, and most importantly, I suggest that take the child's lead, go by the child's lead. What is the child's need of the day? What is it the child is curious about, wants to involve in, engage in? That's very important.
No, how else do you think? Because different age groups, as you said, the 7 to 8-year-olds are always high and they always want to jump around. So you can't make them sit and write something or do something for the complete day. So how do you engage them?
See, basically, this is a time when you can actually start introducing them a lot of skills, skills to survive. Like for example, cooking. That's something that everybody should learn. So during that stage, when there are 7-8 years, you see that there is a lot of energy and hormone changes also happen. So what happens is, when you involve them in the daily chores, you involve them in learning new skills that engages them and their changes which is happening physically or mentally, especially in pandemic. So give them tasks, everyday tasks. So these are your tasks for the day. So these, and whole afternoons they can involve in cooking a dish, planning for the dish. They could also involve in and make sure that when they're attending the online sessions or they have online classes now, so they have a physical movement, because they have a lot of their energies that needs direction. So every 15 minutes or every half an hour, tell them it's mandatory to have a movement in the body. So they can just jump, keep a skipping rod, let them do little skipping. So this helps them to have a movement and the blood circulation, and they feel little, the energy is being used. And that's how whole day they can just plan up, and definitely involve in lot of family games, and that actually assures them that everything is fine, everything is going.
Parent definitely needs to be a lot creative to keep the child engaged.
Yeah, see, when we're talking about the parents training, see, you definitely need to match up with the child's energy, but it's little difficult, I understand, but at least you need to work on your energy levels, and that's where I say that you should start much before, starting from the planning stage, where you're involved in physical exercise, you're involved in mental exercises, emotional exercise, that has to go ahead during pregnancy and after birth, because now the baby is in your hand and you see this bundle of energy. You need to build that energy to be able to be with that energy. So when you are able to take care of yourself physically or emotionally, that's when you are able to give your best. So I suggest that you take a little me time, work on your emotions, or go for a little exercise, take care, take break, and then again come back to the child. And always it's not needed that you always have a planned activity, or you have to do something about it. A little conversation, sometimes you can just connect in silence, just be with the baby, just hug, cuddle. That moments, that itself is a connection in silence, and that's the best, I feel. And from there you get the lead how to go ahead and with the child's interests, and then just the activities fall in place.
Once a parent, always a parent. So you definitely need to know how to manage your energies.
Yes, definitely.
Parents are mostly concerned about giving a comfortable life for the child. But one needs to strengthen the child and the self of the child, irrespective of how luxurious you're treating the child. So what would you suggest the parents on that note?
One need to understand that we are just part of child's growth, not entirely, because each and every person and everything around is a contribution to the child's growth, be it the farmer, be it the environment, nature, everything is part of the child's growth. So once you start coming out of this ownership and you start feeling a part of the child's growth, that's when you drop giving too much of instructions and allow the child to grow. And then we participate, and the best way, or one of the best ways, I understand, is to build gratitude. So every day, at the end of the day, you can think of having, have a conversation or write a journal about what all things you are in gratitude with. That builds the child, that makes the child understand, oh, I'm so blessed, and that's when they're complaining about things or their comforts. Everything starts into the survival. What is luxury, what is survival. More than that, they start living in gratitude, which is very important. And as a parents, we need to understand that we are just part of their growth.
So in the end, you want to say that gratitude is the attitude we all need to build. And yeah, that's a beautiful takeaway for all the parents and all the audience, I guess. Thank you, Srujna. Thank you for this wonderful time and the information you have given about the parenting. And that's a great takeaway for all of us too. Thank you. Tumba ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು.
Thank you for inviting.